All right, we should be good to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another MOONSHIRE Monday. Jeez, gonna get started in just a few minutes while the chat gets started up. I don't have any specific plans for today, so we're gonna get some opinions from the rest of the audience. Also, you might notice that there was a bug that happened on screen just now. Maybe I can fix it. We got Wolf, we got Bellcat. Thank you so much for being here. Saba and I. A lot of folks in the chat before stream starts. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning. Good morning, Bellcat. What I was going to show is that, like, just now, I noticed that in the game, in the game, you know, the player is holding this lightning rod, so it's very bright and it's glowing. I hate that text box, by the way. This text box that shows up, I really need to fix it. But anyway, I noticed that when I rolled over here and went to this next room, look, the light source goes away. Why did what happened? Why does the light source go away? That was weird. I'm not quite sure why that happened. We could probably investigate that today. But thank you so much for everyone that's being here today. Hopefully the delay between the chat and the overlay above me is pretty... No, that looks really fast. It looks like it's really, really fast. So last stream I switched to 4K streaming, and this week I decided to switch back. Because when you stream in anything above 1080p, you start to lose latency. Or you start to get a delay between when you chat and when the chat appears, like, above me. I think it's working, yeah. At least for me. Because I have the YouTube chat to my left, and then I have the overlay, like, in the stream itself. And it looks like it's the same... it's happening at the same time. What about that yellow weapon that crashes the game? I don't think I have that in the game right now. But that is fixed. I know what you're talking about. We got a donation today. Roy BGB. Sadly missed your stream last week. That being said, let's see. That being said, last week you mentioned about working on a mobile port on the game. I was wondering if you're going to release the game on consoles like the Switch. I would love to do that at some point. And thank you, by the way, for the donation. I really, really do appreciate that. That support means a lot to me. Thank you. I would love to do a Switch port, especially like if I was going to port to a console, Switch would be my #1 choice. But the thing is, every platform that you support is you're signing up for a lot of extra work, because there's going to be a lot of exclusive bugs, a lot of exclusive maintenance and changes you have to make, and every time you make a deployment you have to deploy it to one extra place. So it's a good idea for me to wait on any ports until the game really is solid, because if let's say right now I decided, okay, I want this game to be available, like the demo. I want the demo to be available on Steam, and I want it to be available on mobile. That makes it very difficult for me to do any deployments, because if I want like a new version of the game to release, I have to deploy it everywhere, and there's all these different places. In fact, this is something I'm considering right now, because I need to start supporting Linux, because, well, for a lot of reasons. One, I want Linux users to be able to play it and everything. Pippa, hi, welcome in. By the way, thank you everyone for being here. Only Simulation, Banyadam, Watch Me Fight, Elias Indy, It's Bear. Thank you so much for being here. I was talking about Linux. Yeah, so the reason I want to support Linux as well is because the Steam Deck is Linux based, and if you want that Steam Deck checkmark next to your game, you need to have Linux support. So Linux is without a question something that is coming. But even that is a big extra task to get out the door and working. And I don't know that with certainty, but the reason why I suspect that is because it's a lot of work to support Windows, and right now I'm trying to support Mac. So that's two platforms, is Windows and Mac. But even Mac is giving me tons of trouble. Like, it is hard. It is hard to release an app for Mac, and you know, maybe it's a little bit easier on Linux, maybe, but my point is that there are weird, strange quirks with all of these platforms, and any time that I spend working on platform specific fixes or deployments, that's time that I'm not spent working on like bug fixes, because you know, There's bugs in this game. I just showed how the light source on this lightning rod went out for some reason. I don't even know why that is. What's your favorite PC game? My favorite is Half-Life 2. Nice! I've never actually played Half-Life 2. I played Half-Life 1, but I never got into, you know, Half-Life 2. Just because I wasn't much of a PC gamer back when I was growing up, so it's never really been a big priority. Let's see if we can fix this bug with the light source. So my point is, I'm going to show it one more time. When you're using this lightning rod, you can see that it's really bright around the player, but as soon as I walk into this next room, the light source goes out. So it just like deletes itself for some reason. I don't know why, but we can try and find out. In weapon.lua, I think that there's just a light remove light. Okay, so there's actually a remove light function, and it's getting called to, let's see, it's being called too much, too early. Or maybe we do want to, maybe it needs to be recalled. So here's my other idea. Maybe the light source does need to be removed. Actually, it probably does need to be removed, but it needs to be relit. I need to call this weapon:light. Where would that go? Load map, maybe? How do I do lighting with Love 2D? Is it shader? Yeah, it's shaders. All the lighting, so like, let me pull it up real quick. The way this light source works is there is literally a dark, transparent overlay over top of the whole game. So picture just like a big black rectangle is over top of the game, but it's transparent. So that's why like this edge, whoops, I'm sorry, I can't really see on my stream very well. That's why over here it's darker than it is closer to the player, because near the player, that overlay is actually being pierced. So this big black rectangle, this transparent black like rectangle, when it's near a light source, the light source actually removes that that black coloration from the world and pierces through, so it mimics a light source. And what is happening in the specific bug is that I walk over here and the piercing effect goes away. So like right here, this is an example of like, it's just a big black rectangle over top of the game and it's transparent. So you can see through it, but it's kind of dark. That's why like the game looks really dark, but near a light source, it's not so dark. Did they add new music to the list? I swear we haven't heard black and white music before. Yeah, I that specific song, I really like that one. I don't know if there's any other. Let's actually check. I don't remember what other black and white music we have. I have Dreamyard as well for sure. I have a lot of the cities. You know what? I had to take some of it off because it was getting copyright claimed. So let me actually show you this. I wish I could make it bigger, unfortunately, but like this is all my music for all the Pokemon music at least specifically, and black and white is at the top. I have a lot. I'm sorry that it's dark. We got only one from black and white too, Aspertia, but that's oh, the story behind the the copyright claim was someone on YouTube took one of those black and white songs, posted it to YouTube, and then started claiming people who were using that song. So one of my streams got copyright claimed, even though like Nintendo allows that music to be played. Okay, I need to get back on track. I've been folders for every game I like that. Oh my gosh, my organization for my music, I spent so much time. I spent so much time on this. I have every game categorized by game, and then the name is specific. So like Animal Crossing, it's AC for Animal Crossing, ACNH for New Horizons, Wild World. So I love how I have it named. And oh, and the other big thing is the metadata. That this is actually a really hard aspect of these music files, because you know, right above my head it shows the song title and like the game it's from. That the way that works is I wrote a script that specifically goes through the metadata of the song that's playing. So you can see like here it says 7 p.m. Animal Crossing, or if I go over to the Stardew Valley folder, I can find this one is Spring. The valley comes alive. So this is the song that's playing right now, and literally the script above my head is just getting this metadata string right here and displaying it. And I really like how that works. How did I get the songs? That's my little secret. I don't think I want to say. It's Lua framework uses Love2D. Yeah, I use Love2D. I need to get back to figuring out what went wrong with this weapon light thing. So at some point, the weapon gets extinguished, but it needs to be relit. Light, or actually weapon. Spawn data weapon. No, that's not it. Always spawn the... No, that's not what I need either. How can I find my habit of using spaghetti code, even if I know how to do some mechanic without if and else? I mean, it takes a lot of practice. The only way to get used to, like, good code is to make a lot of good code. And you're right, that at times, doing the efficient, good solution takes more time and effort than doing like a quick, easy, hacky solution. That's a really common thing in programming. And you have to strike a balance, because you could spend an endless amount of time taking your code and refactoring it and making it really, really good. Or you could spend your time building things out and making lots of features, but then you end up with a very large code base and the code is hard to organize. There's a balance in the middle, because on one hand, you could spend all your time refactoring and not get anything done. And on the other hand, you could get so much done that you end up with a crazy complicated code base that you can't work off of. So there's not really a good way to do that. At the soundtrack from Pokemon Puzzle League. I've never played that one. What's my favorite handheld I've played? My favorite is Nintendo DS and Nintendo Switch 2. I loved my DS, probably 3DS if I'm being honest, because I still have my 3DS and I loved it. JJK, hi, welcome in. Have I played Minecraft? Yeah, we actually had a Minecraft server on my Discord server for a little bit, so I played it for a while, but Minecraft isn't my kind of game just because it's very open-ended, and I like having goals. I like having the game to give me a sense of direction, which I'm sure it does, but Minecraft being like a sandbox, it's a little bit freeform for me. Do you use tools like Prettify, so clean up, code white spaces and tabs? I actually don't need to, or I bet I have at some point. Let's see, do I have any extensions for that? I think the aspect of Minecraft that I would like is, one, the building stuff. I think I would enjoy designing a big thing and then building it out. And I also think that I would like mods of like levels that people made. But like I was saying, the sandbox aspect isn't really appealing to me. It's more like I would enjoy playing things that other people have made. I don't use an engine. I use Love2D, which is a framework. So what I'm trying to find is where in this code it's extinguishing the light source, because I do want it to extinguish the light source. I think that everywhere it's deleting every light source. Destroy all in this destroy all function. So I think there's there's a light sources. So this remove table, light sources, destroy all. Remove weapons not in use. Oh, look, I have a... Look, so this is an example. Someone was talking about how do you get used to writing good code and not using if and else statements? Well, here's an example of this. I have this code. I probably wrote this 2 years ago. Like, I'm not even kidding. This was probably 2 years ago that I wrote this code. And like you're saying, there are better ways to write this. This is so hacky because it's literally going through every single weapon and then calling this like custom logic in this destroy section. Like, it's so bad. Yeah, 2026 is the most likely estimate, but you know, I'm expecting the demo re-release to come out this year though. So I think that this line here is not happening. I think that there is a... I think that I changed the light functions. Light. Extinguish. Restore. No, I don't want that. Light. Oh, here's the problem. I found the problem. So the problem was that the function to light a weapon is just called light. And here in load map, or actually it was here, in destroy all, it was calling, oh no, effect.start light? Oh, this is old. This is so old. Let's do this. If weapons, I think that I can just get rid of this one up here. If weapons, actually I'm gonna keep the old code so I can show what the difference is. If weapons I dot light, then weapons I... Oh, that's not exactly what I want, though, because sometimes the light needs to be extinguished. Well, I think that logic actually happens in here. Oh, yeah, it does. It does. It does. So I can just call light. I'm sorry that it took me a second to figure that out. Okay, so I think this will fix the problem, but let's test it to make sure. I think that the only problem was that I changed the function name to light when it used to be called start light. I think that's the only problem, but let's see. So right now the light is on. I'm gonna walk over here. Yay! It works. It works. Okay, so that was the problem. It literally was as simple as this, where I used to have it stored in this effect and then effect start light, and at some point I must have decided, okay, that's kind of dumb and inefficient to have it locked behind an effect and then a start light function. So at some point I changed it to just light, and I forgot to change this. So let's get rid of this. Fix room respawn weapon light. Okay, well that was easy. Now what? I wish I had more stuff to specifically work on, but this like I have been treating Silksong like a full-time job. I am so into Silksong. It's amazing. I love it. And I'm getting ideas for this game specifically from Silksong. It's really, really good. And some of these ideas are like pretty easy to implement. Let me go ahead and... I have this list written down somewhere. I need to find it. I have a list of... as I've been playing Silksong, I've been taking notes on things that I thought were really cool and things that could fit into my game pretty well. So, you know, actually, I think the best way to talk about this is to watch the trailer, because the trailer shows a lot of these things. YouTube, Silksong. I guess I'll watch the release trailer. No, I'm gonna watch the original trailer. No, I'm gonna watch the release one. Okay, we're gonna come back to that song in a second, but I do kind of want to watch this Silksong trailer. Because, okay, already, the big thing that this game has that I love is that there are so many layers with everything. There's all these foreground layers in the front, like this black section of moss that's really close to the screen and these platforms. But then in the back, it looks so faded, and then there's these dust particles in the air, and you can see light streaks and stuff. It really looks so full. It almost looks like a 3D game, which I think it is running in a 3D engine, but I don't think that it's an actually 3D. I think that it's a bunch of 2D assets, parallax in a way that looks 3D. Act 2 is hard. I'm I think that my biggest criticism of the game is that it's a little too tough. It's very it's very brutal at times. I think that they could dial it back a little bit, but I'm still loving it. Do I think Silksong is overpriced? No, overpriced. No, it's definitely. I would say that they are underpricing it intentionally. I the thing about the price. So for people who don't know this game is going for $20, which is quite a bit less than most games. So I'm gonna let the trailer run, and then I'm gonna go back through the things that I want to add. Which I avoided this trailer for a long time because I just didn't want to spoil anything, and yeah, I've seen all this stuff in game. So look away if you don't want to spoil anything. But this game is worth playing. It is so cool and so much fun. Lethal acrobatic action. That is true. There is lethal acrobatic action. A vast handcrafted world. I mean, it definitely is a vast handcrafted world. Whoa. Okay, some of this stuff is kind of late gamey. I have seen a lot of this, but some of this I haven't seen, actually. You're still wearing the clown costume for Half-Life 3? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It'll come. Maybe. Hollow Knight Silksong. Also, when I'm playing the game, I read everything in Australian accent because I think the developers are Australian. September 4th. This was the coolest shadow drop. I was so excited when they announced this release date. It really is amazing. Roy BGB, sadly I have to get going. I have a class to go to in a few minutes. Good luck on the game. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the donation. That's amazing. I really, really appreciate that. Here, my chat didn't get pulled up on me. Uh-oh. We got someone being a little bit mean. One second. I gotta make sure that the stream's still up. There we go. Yeah, my chat, once again, the browser crashed. Can you believe that? Thank you, mods, for taking care of that. Yeah, thank you guys for the donation. Sorry, I was like, why did it get so quiet? It's because my music stopped. It's because I had the music going before I started playing that trailer. Oh, the reason I was going to show that trailer is because I got so many ideas just in terms of visuals. And really, I think that trailer kind of shows a lot of the visuals I'm going for. Mainly the thing is the layering effects. They use so many particles. So, like, my game has these fireflies in the game. And you can see them, like floating around. These particle effects are really easy to add, but Hollow Knight has so many. It just looks so full and so deep. It looks like a 3D game. And even 2D games... Uh-oh. We got more. Thank you, Wolf. We got some trolls. I was gonna say, we actually predicted that. Yeah, that's unfortunate. If you're playing, please stop. Something I don't like in games is if you stand still, it looks like a screenshot. Oh, that's the other thing, yeah, is I do love movement. Hollow Knight is always moving. There's especially like the dust particles. You can just see so much stuff floating around. And my game has that a little bit. If you look really closely, especially around this like darker portion, you can see the fog floating by, and it adds a lot more movement. Same with the trees swaying and the grass and the flowers and stuff. All of this stuff adds a lot. Like you were saying, I love that way that you phrased it, where I don't like it when a game, when you stand still, it looks like a screenshot. It might as well be, because even though the game is running, it's running at 60 frames per second, you can have something different all 60 of those frames. We got Deltarune, Silksong, and soon GTA 6, so soon tell me, where's Half-Life 3? I mean, very, very good question. I am excited for GTA 6, but that's not coming for another year, I think. Always rolls like that on the internet. Unfortunately, yeah, I know. That's the way it goes. It's no big deal. Hollow Knight is vector, so graphics are allowed to be try-harded, but for pixel art, the simplicity looks nice. There's benefits of both. I love Hollow Knight's graphics, and I think that they really work well for that style of game. Their art style is amazing. Pixel art is its own thing. I wouldn't say pixel art is better or worse. It's certainly simpler, but that's kind of the point, is the simplicity kind of adds to it. And Hollow Knight has a little bit of that too. There's some simplicity to the drawings, and I think that adds to it. Like, the bugs are all very, like, cartoony, and they could have gone for something more realistic and scary, but no, I think it looks good that it's cartoony. And it's the same with my game. I like that it's a pixel aesthetic. It adds a lot to the game. I feel like GTA 6 will be a big flop for the simple reason that the game is already overhyped. There's no way they can live up to everyone's expectations. I would normally agree with you, except that Silksong lived up to my expectations, and my expectations were very high. Like, Silksong is very good. And if Silksong can be this good, and it took this long, then maybe GTA 6 can pull off the same thing. But that is kind of a long shot. Wolf, you're earning your keep today. Thank you so much for doing that. It's not another troll. It's the exact same one. Yeah, Google. I wonder what Google does about that. I bet there is some kind of tracking with IP and stuff. Because he's just making new accounts and coming back. Like, certainly they block that stuff at some point, right? they don't just allow you to keep doing that. I'm sure that he'll get bored at some point. Un suscriptor en español. Nice. I'm sorry, my Spanish is very rusty. I took 4 years of Spanish when I was in high school. So if I see a Spanish sentence, there's like a 50-50 chance I can read it. But, you know, normally I can't. Normally I can't speak it. I definitely can't speak it. I'm going to be a pile of dust for the next hundreds of years. We still won't get Half-Life 3. I mean, as long as you're probably right. There's probably a limit of how many accounts you can create from one IP. I imagine that's true. I feel like I'm missing a great event, lol. I haven't played Hollow Knight. Oh, man, it is worth playing. I think that here's something that I'm really interested in people's opinion on, is difficulty. Because the one divisive, at least for me, I think my one criticism is that the game is so hard, it does start to become, like, annoying. I have felt myself getting, like, ragey and annoyed because there's some really annoying bosses and some super frustrating, like, it feels bad when you get hit from something off screen, or there's something hidden, or there's lots of traps, but they do that intentionally. Like, that's the whole point. They add a game with, or they have this game with all these, like, really super hard, skill issue. I know, I understand. It is, and I get through it. I'm able to overcome it. But you could say the same thing about Elden Ring. Would Elden Ring be better if the health bars didn't get sucked down with every single hit? Because, like, in Elden Ring, you get hit by one enemy, and then it takes, like, half your health bar away. And I don't really like that. I love Elden Ring. It's one of my favorite games. But maybe it would be better if, like, it wasn't so punishing. Because Silksong, you get hit 3 times and you're dead. You can lose your momentum really fast, and healing is so hard sometimes. So I do think that it's a little bit much. But at the same time, that's what they were going for, and I respect their artistic choice to make a very, very tough game. And, like, overcoming those challenges feels very good. It feels very good to, like, you're stuck on a boss and then you work on it for a half an hour and then you finally beat it. It feels amazing. And that's the feeling they're going for. And I get so into it. I was telling my family how I've been playing Silksong so hard that I've been like licking my lips, because when I'm so focused, I start licking my lips. And so my lips were like beet red and chapped because I was so focused and so intensely into this game. It is hilarious how into it I was. So that like I love it. Even though I do think maybe they should dial it back just a bit. I think they should dial it back just a bit. That like Team Cherry is not perfect. They can over dial it a little bit. I still love it. I still think it's amazing. It is better than Hollow Knight, I think, and I can't believe how much I love it. Like, I'm so into it. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm getting so many cool ideas for my game from Hollow Knight, from Silksong. And a lot of it comes in the form of like artistic decisions. There are so many cool effects and 3D and parallax things that they're doing, and those are things that I can do in my game, because this is a thing. I play a lot of games, but there's not too many 2D games that get released. Like, there's lots of 3D games that come out, but it's kind of rare that a big name 2D game comes out. So Silksong being a 2D game, I'm getting a lot of inspiration from it, because they're kind of innovating in neat ways. So a lot of the particles that they're using, they're doing things like, as soon as the game starts, a bunch of these birds fly away. So I could add a bunch of these particles. You know what? I still have the trailer open. Let's watch it again. But I'm gonna leave my old music on because I just want to talk about the visuals. I wanted to show these birds right here. So there's this scene right at the beginning where you walk through this foresty area and all these birds fly away. I love that. That's so cool. I could totally add this to my game. All those birds just like flying out as soon as you walk through them. It's so cool. Gonna go play Silksong. I mean, I think that if there's any time to go play it, this is the day to do it. You have my full permission to skip stream and go play Silksong, because it is rare for a game to come out that is this good and this big. When did Hollow Knight come out? In like 2016 or something? 2017? That is wild. I really love it. Oh, I hope that I can show this in the trailer. They do this effect where if you go into a dark area, the field of view like shrinks in, and then when you get back into a light area, it goes back out. I want to see if I can show that. It's a really clever effect. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show this in the trailer. Yeah, I guess a lot of these effects I'm thinking of aren't really visible in the trailer, except for the birds and all these like drip drops and the fireflies and dust particles. I can see like mosquitoes in the background, lots of drops, lots of fireflies, oh, like these cinders. This is the other thing, is that they use foreground particles. I think my game has, I guess these fireflies kind of count as foreground particles. Yeah, they are, because they have negative parallax, but at the same time, I could have more layers of it. There's only one layer of fireflies, and I could have multiple. It adds a lot to adding the depth. Can I play Silksong first? Personally, so I am 25 hours into Silksong. There are so few references to the first game. I really don't think you need to play Hollow Knight to play Silksong. But the big thing that will cause you, the biggest problem with that is that Silksong is harder than Hollow Knight. And Hollow Knight is already really hard. And I think that this is what I wanted to talk about, is difficulty. There are lots of people that flat out won't be able to play Silksong because it's too hard. Because there are bosses in levels that I get stuck at for like an hour. And I'm really good at games, so if I'm getting stuck at these things, like, can you imagine giving this to, like, someone who doesn't really play games very often? They wouldn't be able to play it. And I don't know how I feel about that. I can respect them, again. I can respect them doing really intense design that caters to an intense market. And I like it. It works for me because I'm able to get through it, but there's a lot of people that I know that I would normally like to recommend this to, but it's too hard for them. If someone's a casual gamer, I really don't think they'll be able to play this and have a good time. It just really is that hard. It really is that hard. Isn't that the case for Dark Souls as well? Yeah, it is. I think that Dark Souls is the same way, where or Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring, but like I probably wouldn't recommend Elden Ring to a casual gamer because they would play it and just die over and over again, and I don't think that would be a fun experience. And I'm not suggesting that Elden Ring should add an easy mode, and I'm not suggesting that Silksong should either. I don't know what the right answer is, and I'm trying to figure this out myself because my game is going to have this exact same problem. I have to think, do I want to have a game that is very challenging and rewarding when people overcome those challenges, or do I want to have a game that is accessible to everyone, that I can recommend to literally everyone, and everyone is able to get through it? There's pros and cons to each, because the pro of catering to everyone is that like you can sell it to more people and more people can enjoy it. That's great. But the other thing is, when you appeal to everyone, sometimes that leads to you appealing to no one. It's the same with like movies. It's the same with lots of stuff. If you try to have wide appeal, sometimes the appeal is too wide and too stretched thin that it's not really appealing at all anymore because it's just too vague. Where the alternative is, you could really narrow in on a style of something really, really good and making that like super great, but it might not appeal to everyone. It might appeal to you specifically, or it might appeal to like a niche group of people, but sometimes that can overcome the odds. An example of that is Undertale. Undertale is a really good example of that because the developer, Toby Fox, was talking about how he made this game not expecting it to really be popular with the wide mass market. He thought it would just be popular with people like him. People who are interested in like narrative-driven, like quirky indie games, or people who are fans of like Earthbound or Homestuck. He wasn't expecting it to become like this crazy big cultural phenomenon, but because he stuck to his guns and made a game that was so perfectly niche and so tightly amazing, it ended up having mass appeal because it was so good. The game would have been worse if he tried to make it more mass appealing, because it would have watered down what made the game amazing. Hey, did I try Silksong? Oh yeah, I'm deep into Silksong and I love it. Do I have a tutorial for my game? A tutorial on how to make it? So on my channel, I have a playlist of a bunch of Love2D tutorials. I would recommend those. Those are really good starting points. The other thing that this game does really well, that I'm doing in my game too, is you have this enormous world that progressively becomes more interconnected. Because you go through all of these levels, and it feels kind of just like an experience. You're experiencing a level, but then eventually you'll come across like a secret wall and you'll break through, and you'll loop back around into an old level, or maybe you'll loop back around into an old save point, and then suddenly you have these cool like interconnections. And that's the part that I like the most. Like, I love the combat. I love everything about this game. But the part that I like the most is just experiencing the interconnectivity of all of these like designs. Like, they put a lot of effort into making the world design perfect. It really is great. All of this stuff is just like explicit gameplay from the game too. They didn't enhance it or anything, which is good. It's exactly representative of what the game is. Lethal acrobatic action. This is the reason why I like it more than Hollow Knight, is because all of this like flying around and zinging and jumping off of stuff is so cool. And you can do some of this in Hollow Knight as well, but it's better in Silksong. It's more fun. That looks so nice. That looks amazing. how much time, I can't imagine, how much time do you think they spent just designing this chandelier right here? It's so intricate. It's incredible. Oh man, they're spoiling stuff. I'm watching this trailer and it's spoiling stuff. But that's okay. Yeah, I think I'm done watching this because I'm seeing some stuff I haven't seen yet. I'm seeing some stuff that I anticipated, though. There's some things that I expected. So I wouldn't say it was super spoilery, but that's what, like, that was the first time, like, just now, that was the first time I watched the trailer during the stream, because it always shows things that I don't want to see. I'm glad that I experienced the whole game blind before watching that trailer, because that trailer kind of showed too much, if you ask me. Don't understand the goal of the game. So honestly, like that is a very valid criticism, because it doesn't really provide much goal. Like, you talk to people and there's not much to do. It's kind of just like a semi-straight path over to the cloud dungeon, and then you beat that and you go back to the beginning and fight another boss. So like, it basically is just a series of different bosses to test the gameplay mechanics. I actually do kind of like the format of the current demo, because it's kind of just an open little world to fight a few bosses and get a feel for what it's like. It was really good for me to test all of this stuff, really. But now I'm focused more on kind of addressing what that person was talking about, how sometimes you need a little bit more guidance. Like, when you drop into a world and no one tells you anything or where to go or what to do, it feels kind of aimless, and that's not what you want players to feel. You want players to feel like they are going somewhere with a sense of direction. They're going somewhere with some goal in mind, even if they're just exploring. You can explore aimlessly with some intention of finding something. Like, you could say, I'm exploring to find something specific, or I heard a rumor about this thing in this direction. Any of that stuff helps out a lot with giving context and giving some sort of goal. You're developing a game quite similar. Awesome, that's cool. How do you gaslight yourself into thinking the art for your game is enough? So that's a problem that I think every artist in general has, is that you can see a screenshot of my game. Like here's the thing. My game has been in development for like 5 years, and I think that this shot right here looks pretty nice. And like, maybe you're out there you're still on year 1 of your game, comparing it to mine and being like, oh, it doesn't look very good. That's too bad that my game doesn't look as good as this one. But here I am pulling up the Silksong trailer, which I already closed it. But then I compare Silksong to my game, and I'm like, oh, my game doesn't look nearly as good as Silksong, so I'm exactly with you. How do I gaslight myself into feeling like my artwork is enough? Because, like, I look at this, and sure, this artwork looks like it's enough. But also, I'm playing Silksong, and I'm getting so many ideas for ways I could improve on this. And the answer to your question is, there's a stopping point at some point. You can endlessly work on your art and perfect it, but you'll be seeking perfection forever. It doesn't exist. You're going to have to cut it off at some point. So at some point, you're going to have to say, this is good enough, and I'm going to start sharing it with people. For me, actually, a really big benefit is streaming, is that I'm streaming. I'm showing off all of these assets, all of this art, while it's still being developed. So it's like, I'm not really... It doesn't really bother me anymore. That's a really hard thing for me, for lots of people to get over, is that showing off work that you're still working on, it's hard, because people are gonna see it and they're gonna be like, that's not very good. Like let's say that you spend a month working on an indie game. If you spend a month working on a game, you're going to end up with a game that's not quite finished, because it takes a long time to make an indie game. And if you show someone that unfinished work, they're going to look at it and say, oh, that's bad. Even though they're not going to realize how much work and effort and time and skill goes into making an indie game, but they're not going to appreciate it, is all I'm saying, is that it takes a lot of time and effort to get to the point where you start impressing people. And showing people unfinished work is a hard habit to get into. I think it's worth doing, because they're going to give you feedback that you might already know about. Like, I get feedback on a constant basis of things that I'm already aware of. Like, I receive bug reports of things that I know about, and I receive advice for things that I'm like, yep, I think that's good too, I'm going to be doing that. And then, and I also receive advice of things that I know that I will never implement. And the thing is, we all have different visions of what direction this game is going to be going. And all of this feedback is helpful. I think it is really helpful to get your work out there and get people judging it. They're going to give you advice that is not helpful. They're going to say things that are mean or that like is not actually constructive. But some people will. Some people will tell you things like, "Oh, I'm doing this for my game and it actually helped out." Or maybe someone will be mean and it'll be like, "Oh, even though that person was mean, they actually did kind of have a point when they said this, so I'm going to implement their idea anyway." You'd be surprised how many ideas and how much. Well, speaking personally, I get a lot of benefit out of these streams because a lot of you guys give me cool ideas and prod me in the right direction. If I do something that's like lame or bad, you guys will kind of let me know. The big thing that helped me with that, like I used to have a lot of mixels in my game. A lot of, I had like the sword. The sword in my game used to be really mixely. And I got a lot of feedback of people saying, "Hey, that doesn't look good." And eventually I'm like, "Yep, you're right. It doesn't look good." And I bet, honestly, the mixels in this character right here, because you can see the hand poking out. Like this is mixels, and it's not placed exactly how pixels should be placed. But I personally think it looks good, and some people won't agree. That's just the way it is. In my Love 2D game, when moving around the map, I sometimes see vertical or horizontal black colored lines. Oh, this is my favorite topic. Oh, this is my favorite topic. Because this is a problem that I think every game engine has, and it's a problem that I've been experiencing since I was a child. Since I was using Game Maker, my Game Maker games back when I was a kid had that exact same problem that you're describing. And my game, Moonshire, right now has this problem too. I'm going to see if I can demonstrate it. I bet that I can. Because there's a very simple trick that can fix it for you, and I'll show you how to do it. I just need to pull up my tile sets. Okay. So the way that this works is every tile in my game exists in a tile sheet like this. You can see it's a 16 by 16 grid. There's all of these different individual tiles. And there's a lot of blank space too, right? Like, even though these are tiles still, they have no content in them. They're just blank tiles. But I do have some sections here, like right here. I have this green line bleeding over into the blank section. This is the fix to your problem that you're talking about. What is happening in your specific case is that your tiles are being drawn. Your tiles are being drawn. What? Come on. And it's bleeding over into this next tile next to it. So those black lines that you're seeing, all it is it's drawing some transparency from the next tile over. So in your tile sheet, you can go into your tiles, and whatever tiles you think are triggering those lines, you can check and see, is it up against some blank space? And in this specific case, yes, this one is up against some blank space, so I drew this border along the edge. That's why I have so many gaps between all my different tile sections, because some of them, like up here, you can see I'm doing the same thing right here. This tile was up against blank space up here. So these tiles would bleed into these tiles and cause those weird line artifacts that you're talking about. So when you add this buffer right here, whenever this bleed over happens, it bleeds over and grabs this pixel right here. And so instead of drawing like those black or blue or whatever color lines it's drawing, instead of drawing those transparent lines, it's going to draw this. So I don't know if there's a specific spot I can show this. I think it's gonna be too small for me to show on stream because this is a 4K monitor. If it was a 1080p monitor, I think it would show up. But that is the solution. That's why in all my tile sets, and same with all these, if there is something that's up against transparency, like actually right here, I should extend this section right here down to here. these tiles would have been triggering those black lines that you were talking about on the bottom part, because I didn't extend this section out right here. And you can see that I did it up on this side, but I didn't do it on the bottom. Now, the reason I don't do it on the left and the right side is because that's just where the tile ends. The tile naturally ends on this left side, but the top and bottom is meant to connect with something else. These are like actual end points. That's why it's like that. So like all of this border stuff, none of these need padding because they actually end at the border. If there's bleed over, it's not a problem. That's normal. But up here, this tile set, these bleed over into these. Like, there's supposed to be content here normally, and so that's why you have this extra buffer. So, hopefully that answers your question. That is the solution to the problem, though. Okay, hopefully my, I'm gonna pop out my chat again. There we go. Earlier in the stream, my browser crashed, and then I just realized that I was reading chat off of my overlay instead of the better chat. So adding the buffer for connecting tiles. Wow, I would have never solved that on my own. I mean, that is a I don't even remember where I first learned this, because no one talks about this. I should make a short. I should make a YouTube short about this, because I have seen this. I'm not kidding. Every single engine that I've ever used with pixel art tiles, it does this. In fact, actually, you know, I was gonna save this because I'm working on a new video that is going to show one of my old YouTube channels, but since I already showed it before, so I'm gonna show it again. I have an old YouTube channel that displays that problem you're talking about very, very badly. So on YouTube is this channel called Game Maker Crab. This is my channel from 16 years ago. I was 12 when I made these videos, or 12 or 13. And I made this Zelda game. And this Zelda game has the worst example of the line problem you'll ever see. You can see it in every single scene. Look, except they're blue lines. So do you see the blue lines in this recording? They're everywhere. And they like flicker too. So, this dungeon too is very bad. It has this dungeon, it has a really bad problem with the flickering. So I assume that this is the problem that you're talking about, where the like blue lines or black lines, they flicker or move around. They're just there in weird spots. But yeah, the way that you fix this specific problem that I'm showing on screen is if I would have gone through the tile set and did exactly this, where I put a border around it, it wouldn't have shown up. But also, I never really understood that. Where did I get Game Maker? Back then, I got Game Maker from a book. I bought a book, and it came with a CD that had Game Maker on it. So that's how I got Game Maker originally. But actually, I have it on my desk, right here. This is the book. My dad bought me this book when I was in 4th grade. It was either 4th grade or 5th grade, and it had a CD in it that had Game Maker on it. And this is what I used to learn game development. It was entirely from this book. Do you know where you can get it? Well, so this book is too old now. So Game Maker is still around today. By the way, I recommend Game Maker. I think that it's really good for especially people who are starting out, even if you're not starting out, because like Undertale was made with Game Maker. Undertale was made with the exact same engine that I used to make this game that's on screen, which is so cool. But like I use this version of Game Maker. This is for Game Maker's like 6 or 7. Game Maker 7, I think, is what this came with. And so this was like 18 years ago. Shout out to your dad. It's thanks to him. Absolutely. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for buying me that book. That changed my life. I was reading Nintendo Power magazine, and I saw this advertised in it. And then we went to Borders. Hey, does anyone remember Borders Books? That was a bookstore in the U.S. at least, but it went out of business. It was very sad. It was like Barnes & Noble, except it was called Borders. I liked it more than Barnes & Noble, though. But we are done with this because that's... what I choose, Love2D versus Godot or Unity. I chose Love2D just because I tried out all of them. So I recommend normally everyone do this, where they're all free, by the way. Love2D, Godot, Unity, you can download all of those for free and just try them. Just download all of them and make a little game with them. Make Pong, make Space Invaders, hashtag Pong mentioned. But I always say, since it's free, there's no harm in just trying it out. And if you like it, then you can stick with it. And that's what I did. That's why I stuck with Love2D, because I tried out all of them. I tried out Unity and I tried out Unreal. Godot wasn't around at the time, or at least it was brand new. And I'm like, I want to try something new, something different than Game Maker. And after trying them all out, this is just the one that I liked the most. And and since I liked it the most, that's what I decided to stick with. And like that's the other thing, is a lot of people will research engines and they're going to be like, oh, I want to make this style of game, so therefore I should use Unreal Engine. I think it's less... I don't think you should do it that way. Instead, you should try out all of them, spend like a week on each, and whichever one feels the best, that's the one you should use. Because all of them can make good games. Like, Love2D can make good games. Balatro was made with Love2D, and that was nominated for Game of the Year. So that's a proof of concept. And now it's a proper Chalcade live stream. He's talking about Pong. It started. But yeah, Pong is like my favorite thing to try out in any engine, because it works in any engine too. You can make a 3D Pong in Unity. In fact, when I start working on 3D games, because after Moonshire, after I'm done with this game, I want to start working on 3D games and try that out. Literally, the thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make Pong in Unity and Godot and Unreal, or I might try Atari, Breakout, Google. Whoops. We're gonna play it again. It always takes me a while to get to this page, because I don't use Google as my search engine anymore. I use DuckDuckGo now. But yeah, if you Google Atari Breakout, I show this every time. If you Google Atari Breakout or Block Breaker, I guess, you can just play this in your browser. This is what I think you should do. I think everyone, if you're interested in game development, you should download Unity, you should download Godot, you should download Game Maker. Start with Game Maker. Playing the classic Atari Breakout. Whoa! Game on. Did you guys hear that? My phone thought I was talking to it. Whoops. Anyway, everyone should make this game. Man, something about this song playing over top of Breakout, it just feels so right. I love my game. Where did I learn to make these awesome pixel art animations? Just a lot of practice. So I was showing a second ago how I had an old YouTube channel where I made a lot of Game Maker games, and all of that stuff was made using the built-in sprite editor. And those sprites, all the sprites that I made when I was a kid looked bad. My pixel art was not good back then. But it like, after doing it for so long, it just kind of came to me. And I wouldn't say that I'm super skilled at it either. I get a lot of help. I commission people to help me with some of the more complex sprites, and I pay for asset packs and use those as starting points. That's the other thing, is I do a lot of my own art for the game, but I do use a lot of other people's art as like a starting point. and edit their, because I have licenses for lots of asset packs, and those licenses they allow you to edit and make adjustments so that it can fit your style. Because that's the thing, you can buy an asset pack, but it probably won't match your art style exactly. It's going to be a little bit different. So that's what I would normally recommend, is if you're a solo dev, use some open source or paid asset packs as a starting point and edit them. And by making those edits, that kind of helps you get a feel for what works and what doesn't work. And then from there, you can start like making your own custom assets. Or maybe you can start with using characters that are made by other people and then add your own custom decorations, or use tiles that were made by other people but make custom, I don't know, weapons or bullets or whatever your game is about. My point is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I do think that it takes a lot of practice, though, so that's why I say that no matter what you do, you should just start making some sprites. You're subscribing to my old channel? Well, thank you. I don't have the login credentials for that channel anymore, so I have no way of responding to any feedback I get. I do have that game, though, like that Zelda game that I was showing on that channel. I have all the old Game Maker projects I made from back then, and I'm gonna make a video about it soon. I thought I was gonna have a video out last week about it, but Silksong came out and I got sucked into that. I keep doing this thing where on Discord or something, I will say, new video coming out this week, and then it doesn't come out because like my plans change. I just decide not to post it. I didn't do that this time. I had the self-control because the truth is I recorded a video that I was going to release last week, and then I decided not to post it. And that just keeps happening. I have such high standards for my videos now that it's a problem. Someone was asking earlier about how to they use the word gaslight themselves into thinking that their art is good enough. It's the exact same thing with videos for me. My problem is that like I get so uncomfortable and I get cringy. I find the stuff I work on cringy sometimes, and I don't want to post cringy stuff, but sometimes you have to. A lot of my videos on my YouTube channel are cringy, but also I have 100K subscribers. You have to post cringe sometimes in order to get some work done. Also, you have to post cringe in order to learn. Like, the way I learned what was cringy is by posting cringe, and then I learned not to post cringe. But now I'm like so cringe averse that I'm not posting anything, and that's a problem. Posting nothing is worse than posting cringe. At least if I was posting cringe, I would be posting something. One of the best Earthbound songs? Oh yeah. I love the Earthbound soundtrack. There's more Earthbound songs that I would add to the playlist, but they're a little bit too distracting. I love that soundtrack a lot, but some of the songs are like weird intentionally, or they have sound effects. I try to remove songs that have sound effects. Oh, dang it. Did I make this game? No. But my point was that I think everyone should make this game. Oh, come on. I'm like reading chat while I'm playing and I can't pay attention. I guess I did kind of make this. Oh, I promised on stream I was gonna pull up my old Love 2D project. So when I started learning Love 2D, I made a game like this. It wasn't this specific game though. This is Google's. And I do still have it. It's just on my old Mac, and that Mac is barely functional, so I'm gonna have to pull it up. Oh my gosh. When the hearts come down, it feels like Undertale. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, I think we're done with this. It's Moonshire Monday, not Breakout Monday. I'm making a 2D pixelated top-down video game that meant to have PvP and forging aspects, but it's primarily an online chat room game. That sounds cool. I honestly like those kinds of games where it's more social focused. I like the PvP aspect. Would it be like an open world PvP, or like sort of like in RuneScape you have the wilderness or the PvP zones and whatever whatever MMO. I like those. I think they're fun. At the same time, though, one thing that's I've noticed is that there have been a lot of attempts for people to make PvP MMOs, and they never take off because a lot of people don't like PvP. Or another thing is PvP with MMOs. They have a problem to have a lot of griefing, or people team up and just like lock down areas. That's been a problem with a lot of MMOs. I remember there was one incident, like I was watching, like, I think it was Asmongold was playing an MMO for the first time. It was meant to be a trial or like an ad, and he logged in and he would just immediately get spawn camped and killed, and he wasn't able to play the game at all. And it was a sponsored stream. So he was playing this, the game developers paid Asmongold to play their game, and he just kept getting spawn camped, and it made their game look bad. And that sort of stuff is really scary. CG Crest, Silksong break. Has playing Silksong caused any new inspirations? Yes, I was talking about that earlier in the stream, how I have this little document of small ideas. It's tiny. Why the heck is it so little? But, I mean, these aren't that interesting. I was showing the trailer earlier, how the birds fly away in that one area. Another thing is, when you go into a corridor, like something that's really, really tight, it gets really dark. It adds a bunch of darkness to the side of the screen. And that is something I could do for my game, but I don't think I want to do that. I don't like darkness as a mechanic. Sword cling smack. So these are all really minor ideas, but they're things that I could definitely add, and they would add a lot to the game, I think. Ants is a trigger for me now. Yeah, I think that specifically, I was playing the game, and I'm like, oh, I could see ants crawling around in the background, and I'm like looking around, and there's ants everywhere. I thought that was so cool. Your. I promise that was autocorrect. That wasn't me. I would never make that mistake. I have good English, I swear. Something that the game does is, so like in my game, I have like treasure chests, I think. So you just open up a treasure chest and a bunch of gold pops out. They don't work right now, so I can't show you. But in Hollow Knight, or in Silksong at least, they have a bunch of these like ore gravel deposits, and you just smack them and a bunch of stuff pops out. And I like that. There's these Simon Says mini games. Sword clink smack. So this is something that I could add. When like the player's attack collides with a different character's attack. So like if I had the great sword, and then my greatsword slash collided with like an enemy's slash, it could do a cling sound and slow down the game, and it gets really intense. Characters react to your attacks. So this was like the NPCs. I was like hitting NPCs, and they all had like a unique animation where you smack them and they go, woo! And it's really funny. Excuse me. I wish I had more stuff to specifically say. Sorry I'm late, no worries. We're just chatting. Yeah, I've been so into Hollow Knight Silksong that I can't really, I haven't been focusing on anything else. I'm so inspired by that game, and I love it so much. How do I like it? I love it. It is one of my new favorites. It's really, really good. Will I be willing to add save point fast travel? What I want to do is the entire game won't have fast travel until the end. So the map is like a grid of different, like, it's just a grid. And I don't want there to be fast travel for most of the game, but towards the end, I do want there to be fast travel, so that at the end of the game you can like warp back to all the old areas and clean things up, or do other bosses or tasks that you haven't finished up yet. What do I think of the difficulty? That's something that we were talking about earlier too. Don't forget to drink water. Thank you. I think that they made it a little too difficult. And I know that you're just going to say get good. I understand it's a skill issue. It's fine. I'm beating the game. I'm still getting through it. But I think that they did make some of it a little bit too hard. I know, get good, Shaw, I get it, I know. But at the same time, I think that it's a little bit hard. Your throat can get dry when you talk a lot. I think that it is so punishing, and some of the runbacks are so long, and some of the traps that they set are so BS, and some of the mechanics are very annoying, and some of the off-screen attacks, and some of the particle effects that cover the screen, and how the whole game is like completely pitch black dark sometimes. I think that it is a little too much. I think it's a bit too much. I'm like, the game is still amazing. I think it's okay for the game to be amazing, but it's also just a little too hard. And I felt the same thing about Elden Ring. I think that in Elden Ring, like, you get hit by an enemy, by a boss, and it takes away half your health bar. Like, is that fun? I think it would be a little bit more fun if he hit you and the health bar, like, decreased by a quarter instead of a half. That's just me. And it's the same with Silksong. Like, these enemies they are completely demolishing. It's rough. But I think most of the runbacks like that are ridiculous are in optional areas. You're right. And also, the runbacks are kind of fun because running and jumping and like speed running the runbacks is kind of fun. So they made the runbacks actually entertaining. It's fun to jump and run around in that game, so running back to the bosses isn't too big of a deal. But some of them are very long, and my thumbs are like red and swollen from playing so much because and like doing those runbacks over and over and over again because you walk into a boss and then you die immediately and you do it again. Like, I think that could be improved a bit. Also, I keep saying like too much. I need to tone that down. That being said, I still love it. I still love the game. I love it a lot. I like it more than Hollow Knight, and I love Hollow Knight. But I think I would like it more if it was... I think I would like it more if it was dialed back in difficulty just a titch. If there was, like, 20% more save points. If there were... If not every attack did 2 damage, and only some of them did 2 damage. That's all I'm asking for. You can never say the word like too much. I think that I can. I think that I say it. What do I think about the double damage thing? The double damage thing, are you talking about how all the enemies do 2 damage? Because that's what I'm talking about. If you're talking about, because there's also there's a item that allows you to do double damage while receiving double damage, and I haven't even tried that because I wouldn't be able to handle it. I already take so much damage already. I can't possibly take double. Oh, as I was talking about it, yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's hopefully the delay, and let me know, by the way, is the delay with the overlay above me doing okay? Because if it's too slow, I want to know about it. I did change the bitrate for the stream from 6K to 4500, so maybe that's changing things. The delay is good. Just making sure. As long as it's only a few seconds, that's all I care about. Just a bad timing, no big deal. I do see. I think that's more on me because I talk a mile a minute, and I try to always be talking about stuff. So especially when the delay was like when I was streaming and the delay was like 15 seconds. That was not sustainable because I would be talking about something, and then 15 seconds later, I was always talking about something different. So their old message that was sent 15 seconds ago wouldn't really apply anymore, and it'd be confusing. So I'm glad I was able to tone down the delay. By the way, the overlay, it seems to be working great. I'm happy with all the stuff it's been able to do. I noticed that when I got those donations earlier, it didn't make the sound effect, and I think I know how to fix that. Let me change that real quick. So I think that you guys can see this on stream. If I change the scale, oh yeah, you guys can see that. Woo! Man, I love this. And then I was going to test the sound effects. Oh, look, I have it all turned down. So let's turn donation volume back up and membership volume. That's the donation sound. And that's the membership sound. Oh, I didn't even mention that too. I enabled memberships on the channel for the first time. And like, no pressure at all. I haven't started talking about it yet. I just turned it on, and I got the first few emotes added. This is what they look like. They're in chat. Oh, and cool. They show up in the overlay too. That's nice. But I'm going to be working more on that. I'm going to be adding more stickers, more emotes, and I'll be talking more about memberships in the future. But today, I just wanted to get it turned on, make sure that I had it working. Because YouTube has been wanting more people to get involved with memberships. And also, since I'm streaming on YouTube, having memberships makes a lot of sense because, like, that's how you... It's the same with subscriptions on Twitch and stuff. So, more to come. More to come. But I got a lot of help with making those emotes. I think they turned out really nice. So, let's see. Did I use AI when I was younger? When I was younger? Well, AI wasn't really a thing back then. So, when I was younger, like AI, if you're talking about generative AI, that's only been around for like 5 years. If you're talking about like enemy AI, I did really basic AI. All of my AI was always just enemy moves towards the player. It calculates the direction to the player, and the enemy moves towards the player. There was not really any intelligence involved with it. Oh, we have emotes. Yeah, I just added those over the weekend. CG Crest, thank you so much for becoming a member. That's so nice. That's amazing. Thank you. You are the very first official member of the channel. Thank you, CG Crest. Appreciate that. Just found my project and it looks really nice. Thank you, Tronky. Appreciate that. Yeah, but I need to add more emotes. So it's actually kind of funny. They only allow you to post 4 when you first get started. Why didn't it stick? Oh, look! It has a little badge next to Kraz's names. That looks so nice. I'm really happy with how that turned out. I love that. With a little bit of AI just to see what making my code error. I think that's okay. So the thing about AI is, and we talk about this all the time too. AI solves problems for you, but learning requires you to overcome your own problems. So you have to strike that balance. If you want to learn, you have to overcome challenges yourself. But if you want to use AI as a tool, just make sure that you're not becoming reliant on it, and make sure it really isn't doing the hard part for you. Because overcoming that hard part, that's what will make you a good developer. It takes a long time. Yeah, AI really is changing the landscape of development a lot. How can I learn Love 2D? I have some videos on my channel that can help with getting started, getting things installed and the fundamentals, but always with learning any engine is just download it, start playing around with it, because they're all free. Love 2D is free. You can download it and get started right away, and just see if you like it. Because it's possible that you'll download it and start trying it, and maybe it won't vibe with you. Maybe you won't like it. I think everyone should use whatever they like the best. Am I planning to making new devlogs for the game? It was a while ago. Yes, I really do want to, and I really do need to. Excuse me. I was talking about how I did start working on a video over the weekend, or actually last week, and I just started getting so nitpicky with it that I ended up not posting it. And then Silksong came out that I got so wrapped up in that I didn't go back to it yet. So I want to say this week, but no promises. I'm going to post one soon, though. I want to make a new devlog to show all the changes that have been made and really show the direction and the reason why things are taking so long. Because the main reason why I'm taking so long on this portion of the game is just that I really want it to be good. I'm reworking all of these old mechanics to make it as good as humanly possible. And since I'm redoing all this old stuff, it's kind of just like the wheels are spinning, but not much is happening. The game is getting better, but it's not really progress that you can see with your eyes. It's progress on the code level, and I'm starting to support more platforms, getting the Mac build more stable, it really is just fixing things and making it more consistent. That's the part of development that no one really talks about, is that, well, you know, I'm probably spending more time than most getting things perfect and ironing things out. It takes as long as it takes. Sure, that is a kind thing to say, and I agree with you. I'm okay with taking my time with this. At the same time, though, it is important not to let it go on forever. Because if I take forever, then it will never come out. There's that balance, too. Like, I agree that it takes as long as it takes, but it does need to get finished. I need to set it up. I need to set goals and milestones, otherwise it's gonna just go on forever. Do I plan on releasing for Switch? I would love to, but it would not happen for a while because it's definitely going to be Steam first only, so Windows, Mac, and Linux first. And from there, I'm considering mobile as well because there's a lot of people asking for mobile. I think mobile probably would be a really big, important one to do because if you think about it, there's lots of people that... or everyone has a phone, but not everyone has a computer. So if my goal is to allow as many people to play this game as possible, then supporting mobile would be great, as long as it plays well. I wouldn't want to put out a bad experience. I'm gonna try Game Maker. Thanks to you. Awesome. I hope it goes well. Yeah, Game Maker is awesome. It's changed a lot over the years, but it's still really popular, still really good. Lots of people use Game Maker. I think it's worth looking into. I tried Hollow Knight before Silksong, and I didn't like it at all. It's not for everyone, and in fact, I don't recommend Hollow Knight or Silksong to everyone, just because it's very intense, and it takes the right kind of person to push through the challenging aspects of it. And like, because I would love for my game to be something I could recommend to everyone, but I don't know if that's really the best choice. I was talking about this earlier, how maybe Silksong is so good because they make it, they cater it to the right audience. They cater it to a hardcore, intense audience, and that's what makes it so great. Where if they made it more generalized, it might not hit as hard. But the pro of making it more generalized is that more people would be able to play it. Do I ever plan to make a dev team for Moonshire? Not exactly. It's solo developed right now, but I do commission other people for help. Like Wolf, who's in the chat, helps me with testing, and Tony and Ellie and some other folks help with pixel art, and I get some help with illustration. So I commission a lot of folks, even though there's not a full-time team, and I don't have employees or anything like that. I do get help. Who's Wolf? Who knows? No idea. I just subscribed. Thank you. Appreciate that. Do I move the player or the map? I move the player. So I move the player and the camera. That's a really good question, though. So the question is, does the player move or does the world move around the player? And it depends on the game. Because some games, you would move the world around the player. Like, think about Galaga or any of those shooter games like Toho, I think is what you call it, where it's like you're flying through space and you're just shooting stuff. The ship is kind of stationary, moving left and right, or Space Invaders, but it kind of looks like you're flying through space. And in that game, the world is moving, the player is not moving. Toho, my beloved. I've actually never played Toho at all. The closest thing I've played is Undertale, and that doesn't count as all. I haven't played Toho. I don't really know anything about it. But I move the player. All of the tiles stay in place. All of the objects, all of the plants, everything stays stationary. But the player moves, and the camera follows the player. So it is very traditional. I bet most games work like this, where the world is stationary and the player moves. But it definitely depends on the format. Because if it's a stationary game, it probably would be better to have the world moving. Is Moonshire will be in 2026? The goal is yes, but I don't think I want to be making any more promises, any more timelines. It just ain't working out. I'm working hard on the game. It's coming along great, but it's kind of rough. Do I plan to implement accessibility settings like difficulty, dyslexic font, or colorblind toggle? 1 in 8 men are colorblind, and 1 in 5 people have dyslexia. Yes, I do. I think I have them in the game already. So I have a toggle for pixel fonts. This is something that's important. And by the way, I still need to implement this. I don't like the font. All the fonts are high-res fonts, and that's very readable, but it doesn't match the aesthetic of the game. So having pixel fonts be toggleable is good, because some people will have a hard time reading pixel fonts, so having high-res fonts like these will be useful. But the high-res font doesn't match the aesthetic of the game very well, and so I think having a pixel font will be better overall, but it's an accessibility setting. Same with, there were some other ones I had. What the heck? Oh, it did it. It actually implemented it. It just looks bad. It just looks, it's just not, it's not laid out properly. Screen shake, this is an example, this is an accessibility setting, is that a lot of people don't like screen shake. And by the way, screen shake is where, like, if I roll into this wall, you can see it slightly, the screen shakes back and forth. And you can just toggle that off, so it doesn't shake at all. I'd say that counts as accessibility. You mentioned colorblind mode. If I need it, I will put it in. So currently, I design things where colors are not used as a crucial factor. This is something that was instilled in me at Microsoft, because I used to have this idea where it's like, colors can identify everything. You can have a red color and you can have a red character and a blue character, or actually, a better example is the slimes in Zelda. So you have green slimes, and you have blue slimes, and you have red slimes. But they all have different stats. But visually, they all look the exact same, but their colors are different. That's not accessible, because some people can't distinguish the different colors. So if you had a red slime and a blue slime next to each other, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and that's a problem. And if any item is colored differently, and that's the only difference between them, that can cause problems if it's a noteworthy gameplay mechanic. So so my solution to that is that I just don't design things in a way that color is necessary to play the game. I do add colors, like I have the different dyes, and this is something that only can be utilized by people who can perceive colors. But this isn't a crucial gameplay element to change your color, to change your robe color. This is strictly cosmetic. But if being able to see different colors was required to play the game, then I would need a colorblind mode so that people would be able to play it even if they were colorblind. Reminds me of Rabbit and Steel, where one of the enemy patterns require you to enter a circle of a specific color. It also puts a shape. Oh, yeah, exactly. You can do shapes along with colors. Doing both at once is a great idea. Tears of the Kingdom started doing this, where they have the red hearts and they have the yellow hearts, and I think that's a problem because some people won't be able to see the difference between red and yellow. But they also have the cracked broken hearts, and the cracked broken hearts have like an actual visual crack inside of the heart. And that's great, because it's a visual distinction, so people who can't perceive colors will still be able to see it. Have I seen Indie Cross? I don't think I have. I don't think I know what that is. I need to drink more water. My throat is starting to become stuffy. It is really important to make sure your game is accessible and playable by everyone, but it is also important that the accessibility settings or features don't hinder the game. It would be lame if some feature negatively impacted the whole experience for the sake of like 1% of people, because most people are not colorblind. But so it would be it would not be great if the entire game had to be made worse as a result of that. But there's no reason the game has to be made worse because of that. Like, it can just be a feature that builds, or what is it? Makes the game more approachable to some people. You can get the best of both worlds, is what I'm saying. Easy mode is a really big call out, though, that I think needs to be considered. And I think I do have that in this as well. Oh, I do. So this is just a. I'm gonna turn the high res font back on, by the way, because it doesn't look good right now. So in this version of the game, what's up? Hi, laptop. Welcome in, Elijah, Belcat, Saba. Lots of people chatting. Butteriffy, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate all the folks that are being here today. I was going to talk about assist mode, because this is another accessibility concern, and it's a concern with games like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or Silksong. These are very hard games, and someone with a disability or someone who is a casual gamer or who is not skilled will not be able to play those games. Flat out will not. There are bosses in Silksong that I could hand over to, like, my mom, who doesn't play games very often. She would not be able to beat this game. Full stop. And there is no possible way she'd be able to without spending a long time, like, really, like, I don't even know. She'd have to change. I don't know what she'd be able to do. But at the same time, you wouldn't want to make the game worse just so that some people would be able to get through it, because the game is so good because it's hard. If the game was easy, it wouldn't be as good for the people that enjoy it being hard. But if it's easy, then it's going to be able to be beaten by more people, and that's good. So I don't really know. And it's something that I'm considering with my game. I want my game to be playable. I want to give this game to my mom, and I want her to be able to play it, and I want her to be able to beat it. But I also want to give this game to, like, a hardcore gamer. Like, CG Kraz is really good at Silksong. I want to be able to give this game to my friend CG Kraz, and I want him to be able to play it and get some challenge and satisfaction out of beating it. So how do I achieve that? How do I achieve that when, like, some people are very casual gamers and some people are very intense gamers? I don't know. I made a video about this a couple years ago about adaptive difficulty, where if like, the game reads how skilled you are. It sees how often you're dying, how often you're getting hit by stuff, how often you're dodging, and it could adapt the difficulty based on that. But that's not a perfect solution, because I don't know, because then it's a different experience for everyone. Part of what makes Silksong so good in terms of difficulty is that everyone is going through the same challenge. Like, when I talk about Silksong with my friends and we go, oh, that boss was brutal, it took me 10 tries. Well, we all know we're talking about the exact same boss and the exact same experience, and we can talk objectively about it. If Silksong had scaling difficulty or adaptive difficulty, where sometimes the attacks did 1 damage for bad players, or did 2 damage for good players, that vastly changes the experience for everyone. Maybe that's what you want, because then you have a challenge for everyone, but then that challenge is kind of artificial. It's good on paper, but some people don't like the game making it easy for you if you struggle. I agree, and I'm the same way. Like, I wouldn't like it if Silksong became easier for me, because there's some bosses in Silksong that I've died to 10 times in a row. And even after dying 10 times in a row, I didn't want it to get easier. I wouldn't have liked it if secretly the game was going easy on me because it realized that I was screwing up a lot. That would make me sad if I knew that. And by the way, the reason I came to that conclusion, the reason I realized that, is because I made that video and people were telling me that in the video. Here, I'll actually pull up that video because it's a decent one. I made a video about adaptive difficulty, and I think it really does accurately describe what we're talking about. Whoop. So I think I talk about, yeah, I talk about it here. Assist options. Oh, is this the right one? Is this where I talk about adaptive difficulty? I don't know if I do, but this is what the health option or the assist options used to be, and this is lifted directly from Celeste. So Celeste has an assist mode, and that's kind of what I was wanting to do for my game. Is I have an assist mode in my game. This is what I kind of came up with as a band-aid solution to the difficulty problem. So I'm going to design the game so that it's challenging in general. And if it's too hard for someone who's a casual player, they can turn on assist mode. And all that assist mode does is it gives you extra health. So if you're dying a lot, because the game starts you off with only 3 health, maybe that's too little, and you can bump yourself up to +2, so now you start with 5, or you can give yourself +5 health, so now you have 7, even more, or you can make yourself invincible. But if you use assist mode, then it turns off achievements. So that could be the gatekeeping, is that anyone with assist mode is able to get through the game. They could turn on health +9, and they'll probably be able to get through any boss. Or invincible. They can just make themselves invincible and be done. But the thing is, if they turn on assist mode, none of the achievements will proc. So, that's something to consider. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this, by the way. This is just something I'm keeping in there for now. Because while I'm balancing things, while people are testing the game, I want people to be able to get through some of this content. Because, what if I put out a boss and I made a mistake and I accidentally put in something that was way too relentless? That's not fair. This should be in here at least while I'm testing. It's good for your 4-year-old cousin. To be honest, I want people's 4-year-old cousin to play this. I think a well-designed game... Here's an example. You know how... Yeah, the current Water Dungeon boss is ridiculous. You know how kids use iPads? Have you seen a child using an iPad? They use iPads all the time. Does that mean that the child is smart? No, a child... Like a 4-year-old child is not smart. They're actually quite dumb. Because they're 4 years old. But but they're still able to use the iPad because the iPad is designed in a very intelligent way. iPads are designed so intelligently that even a 4-year-old child can use an iPad, and it's so intuitive that they're able to use it. iPads kids are especially dumber. No comment. I want to get into game development, but I can't where to start. My advice is to download it, look at all the different game engines and game frameworks out there. There's a lot of free ones. In fact, most of them are free. You should start by downloading a couple of them and trying them out, seeing what it's like. And then look up some videos to show you what the fundamentals are like, show you how to get it set up, and then try making some very simple games with it. And then whichever one clicks with you, it might take a while, it might take a few months, it might take a year before something clicks. But that's how you get started. Please comment, I will clip and make a video exposing me. I mean, I wouldn't say that's hot. I wouldn't say saying iPad kids are, kind of, I don't know. I think that it's kind of well established that being on an iPad when you're super young all the time causes problems. I think that's well known. I think that there's a balance to be had. But the reason why I brought that up is because iPads are very intelligently designed that even a 4-year-old can use them. I think that my game can be very intelligently designed where even a 4-year-old can play it. The 4-year-olds will be so mad. Yeah, all the 4-year-olds watching. Sorry. sorry to offend you. Saying facts is a hot take nowadays. Ouch. Yeah, I mean, I just try to be kind and caring. I try to treat people how I like to be treated. So if I make this game easy enough... Oh, so an example of this would be Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey has an assist mode. Same with Mario Kart. It has an assist mode. And those games literally show you where to go. And they're designed for young kids or people who are really, really new to games. It literally shows you exactly where to go. And it kind of does a lot of the hard work for you. And I think that's awesome. Now, the fact that Odyssey has that assist mode for kids, that doesn't take away from my accomplishment of beating it, because some of those levels are hard. Some of those moons are not easy to collect. But it doesn't bother me that people using the assist mode have an easier time doing it. That doesn't bother me at all. And it's the same in this game. Or let's say Silksong. Let's pretend that Silksong had this exact assist mode that my game has, where you can just artificially bump up your health, but if you do that, it disables achievements. Would that be good? The good thing about that is that I could give Silksong to my mom and she'd be able to play it. The bad thing is that so many people will be able to beat it that it takes away from the pride and accomplishment of the tryhards that get through the really hard stuff. If people are able to turn on assist mode and get through the game, jeez, I'm so sorry for stuttering. If people are turning on assist mode and getting through the game really easily, you know, that kind of does take away from the accomplishment of beating the game in its full glory. I guess if achievements are turned off, that kind of does, I don't know. You buy the game, you play however you like. It doesn't matter if it is assist mode or normal or extreme. I agree with you, but at the same time, I am designing an experience for people. I want people to have the best experience possible. And if you have to choose your own difficulty, sometimes that in itself is a bad experience. Because have you ever opened up a game and it's like, it says choose your difficulty, easy, medium, or hard. And it's like, well, I don't know. This is the first time I'm playing the game. I don't know if I should choose easy mode or hard mode. Like, I play hard mode in some games, but some games hard mode is way too hard for me. So maybe I should choose medium. But what if I choose medium and then it's too easy? So then it's like a crisis of decision. I don't want that experience of having to choose a difficulty for myself. And assist mode is the same way. It kind of feels bad that I have to turn on assist mode. I have to admit defeat and turn on assist mode. That kind of feels bad. I think the takeaway is that you can't make everyone happy. There has to be somebody that's like not getting their end of the stick. Or if that's is that the saying? Assist option that auto attacks enemies when close. I think that might be taking it a bit too far, because the other thing is the controls in my game are very simple. There's only the movement, there's attacking, and there's dodging. And I think that even dodging is not going to be fully required. I think that it's going to be used to avoid specific attacks, but I don't think that dodging is going to need to be needed. And since it's the case, the controls are so simple that even a kid can figure it out. Compared to... I was playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, the new Donkey Kong game on Switch 2. And I personally feel like the controls in that game are too complex. Because that game appeals to younger people, especially with like the dialogue and the colors and some of the way it presents the story. I think the controls in Donkey Kong Bonanza are kind of complex because you have a different punch. All the buttons do something different. And I think that's a little bit too much for a young kid compared to my game, which just has like an attack button and a dodge button, and that's it. I don't think that my game needs an assist mode because the controls are so simple. But Donkey Kong Bonanza does kind of need an assist mode for young people because its controls are kind of complicated at times. And I think Odyssey is the same way. Odyssey can get complex with its controls. Because, like, you can throw the hat and dodge onto the hat and jump off of it and do extra dodges and stuff. Or, the dives. But the baseline controls are simple enough that a kid could play the game. This chat chalkade may, slow money's more enjoyable and productive. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for saying that. Did I think anything about the lore? Like, a really, really deep lore? Yes. I have, and what I've come to is I've been coming up with lore and story ideas for this game for a long time because I've been working on it for a while, and what I've decided is that all of my ideas are getting more and more shrunk down. As the game continues, my ideas are getting trimmed and simplified. I had this crazy, complex, ambitious idea for a really cool, like, story that expanded multiple planets. It was so big and wild and cool. All these crazy events and things were happening. But I had to trim that down because the game itself needs to support that story. Like, you can have a great story, but if it's told in a poor way, it's not a good story. So if you have an ambitious story, you need to have an ambitious game to go along with it. And what I'm saying is my game's story needs to be equally ambitious as the game itself. Sometimes less is more. Yeah, exactly. My game kind of has a simplistic flow to it. So I want the lore to still be interesting, but also less wild and like crazy and complex. It can still be complex and big, but it needs to be told in a way that is palatable. And all the stuff that I had planned was just way too much. It was too ambitious, basically. And I was talking about, like, cringe earlier. I think that certain story beats in certain games. I was talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I personally think that the dialogue in that game is a little bit cringy. It's hard for me to explain why, but the way that I avoid cringy stuff in my game is I don't want to be over ambitious. I want to set my sights on something achievable and then actually achieve it. That's how you avoid cringy stuff. Because if I came up with this really ambitious story with like deep, dark themes and really serious topics, if the game itself doesn't match that level of seriousness, then it kind of falls flat. That's when things feel a little cringy, is when the story takes itself seriously, but the rest of the game doesn't match that same level of quality. That's what I'm trying to get to, is there is a level of seriousness that will fit this game, and I'm still trying to gauge what that is. I'm a developer myself, looking to move a little into game dev, and your game is very close to an idea I always had. Is there a way I could be helpful to the project? Awesome, that's cool to hear. The main thing that I commission people for is pixel art. So if you do pixel art, you can reach out and we can maybe collab a little bit. But in general, I get most of the stuff that I need from a group of artists that I work with. But I'm always open to collabing and working on more stuff. In general, I need help with art. So if you're a very talented artist with years and years of experience, because I myself am an okay artist, what I need help with is people who are super, super talented, and then I can pay them for their work. That's the other thing. I get a lot of folks that are offering to volunteer, and I appreciate the volunteer offers, but I don't plan to accept any volunteer work. I always want to pay for any services I'm getting from people. I hope I created a lot of enemies and bosses. Well, yes, but also I'm redoing them all because I want the code that's powering them to be really good. And I have a lot of code that goes into those enemies. Under source, under mob. It's still going. All of these files. Okay, so from this file all the way up to this file. All of these files... Oh my gosh. All of these files work together in order to make one enemy work. Well, I guess all of these are the specific individual enemies. So if I wanted to spawn a slime, it would take this file, and then it would combine this file with all of these other mob files. And that's what makes the mobs work. That's what makes all the enemies behave and do anything. And all of these files have their own complexities. Do I use OOP? Yes, but only to the extent that Lua kind of supports it. Lua is not an object-oriented language, but is a language that is so flexible with tables, because tables are just a very flexible data structure, that you can mimic object-oriented design with tables. So all this mob stuff, essentially what this is it's a mob class with several sub-pieces to that class. And all of these are individual instances, or like individual definitions of that class. So like the bunyip enemy has this width and this shadow and this amount of health, and you know, it combines all those aspects together. I still remember that one slime that was so OP that crashed the game. Oh, I remember that too. Bye, chat. Thanks for stopping in, Rajul. I finally made it to MOONSHIRE Monday. Thank you for stopping in. I'm glad you could be here. Yeah, today is mostly just a chatting day. I'm sure I've been asked this before, but when are you planning on dropping the updated demo? I know deadlines are hard to estimate, so no worries if I don't know yet. I appreciate you asking, and yeah, I'm with you. It has been such a long time since I last updated the demo. It really does need a new update. I don't have a specific date, but I promise that I have been making some very, very good improvements. Fundamentally, the game is a lot better. It plays a lot better, and I'm setting myself up to flesh this out into a full game much better than the current Steam demo that's up right now. The current Steam demo is fun, and it's fun to fight those bosses, and I think it demonstrates kind of the vibe that I'm going for, but it wasn't organized in any meaningful way. Like someone earlier in the stream was talking about how there wasn't really any goals. You don't have any motivations, and you kind of wandered aimlessly until you found a boss, and then you beat the boss, but there was no reason to kill the boss in the first place, and you get these upgrades that really don't really mean anything. So those are the aspects that I needed to figure out before fleshing it out, because it's better for me to rework the demo now than create all these bosses, all these levels, and I'm sorry for stuttering. Create all these bosses and all these levels for the demo, only to then rework the code, because then I'd have to rework everything. It's better to rework that stuff now, get everything fundamentally great, set myself up for success. That's my goal here. How do I make the weapon swings look so good? Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. The way it works, keep a very close eye on the sword itself. And in fact, I'm going to turn down the game speed so we can look at it easier. Watch very closely where the sword sprite goes during the slash. It teleports. It goes from this top side, immediately flips to the bottom side. The sword immediately flips. So, the way I do the sword swings is it calculates the angle from the player to the mouse, and then it flips that sprite along that line. So I'll try and take a picture of this. Let's put this into Paint. Okay, so in this specific example, the player is attacking in this direction. Well, let me make that a little bit thicker. How do I make this thicker? So the player is attacking in this direction. So the way that the animation happens is it basically continues this invisible line up in this direction. And then it takes this sword right here, and then it literally flips it across that axis. Like that. Does this drawing make sense? Where I took this sword sprite and I'm literally mirroring it. So, after it does that instant mirror across this blue axis, that's when it spawns the slash. It literally spawns a big slash effect that it's just a big curve. So that's the way that the sword slash works. Is it literally just flips it and draws this big effect while it flips it. Is the slash an animation or some sort of quote? It's an animation. Let me pull that up. This is in effects 2 under attacks. And then let me pull up a sprite. Where is the big slice? Here it is. Yes, the weapon is a separate object and sprite from the player, completely separate. So, when it spawns that slash, it spawns this animation effect. So it looks like this. And it just fades itself out. This is cool art. Yeah, I agree. I think that the way I made this is this shape came from an asset pack, although I did have to, I morphed it a lot. So I remember when I made this, it started from an asset pack. However, I changed it so much, it's almost beyond recognition. I don't think this looks anything like the original art anymore. What is the best way to learn coding language? The best way to learn a coding language is to make something. You have to think of something that you want to make. It can be a little game, a simple game. It can be a little website, some basic app. But that's the best way to learn, is you go into it with no coding experience. Say, I want to make a small, simple game. And you learn to code while making that game. And that's hard to do, by the way. It's hard to do anything that you don't know how to do. So it's hard to code when you don't know how to code, right? The only way to do it is to just power through. You're going to think, okay, well, I need to make, if I'm going to make Pong, I need to make a paddle. How do I make a paddle? And you ask these questions one by one. And as you implement those things, it just comes together. You want to learn C++? I would look up what game frameworks are out there that can help you make games with C++, if that's what you want to learn. Personally, by the way, I wouldn't specifically stick to, or if you want to learn C++, I would say find what projects suit that. Game development can. I think Unreal Engine uses C++, but C++ as a language is a little bit more suitable for embedded or low-level stuff. If you're going to be making games, I do think more modern language beyond C++ will be better, but that's an opinion. I'm sure lots of people will disagree with that. Essentially, I wouldn't start with, I want to learn C++. I would say, I want to learn web development, or I want to learn game development, or I want to learn how to script things, or I want to learn how to work with data. That's what you should start with. And then you should say, okay, I want to work with data. What languages are good for working with data? You have R, you have Python. Those are good for data. So maybe you should start with those. Or if you're thinking, I want to learn game development, I would not recommend starting with C++ if you want to learn game development. I would recommend starting with C# or even GameMaker, or someone says Java. I personally don't like Java, but Java is, I like Java more than C++, so we'll give it that. Either way, there's lots of options to choose from, but C++ as a language, in my opinion, probably there's better options for game development, if that's your goal. So it just depends on what it is you want to make. If your goal, if you just go into it saying, I want to learn to code, I don't think that's going to work out. I think you need some kind of project to motivate you. Otherwise, you're not going to have any sort of intentionality behind it. Learning to code without implementing it into something, you're probably going to lose that information. It's probably the same thing as with spoken languages, where I took Spanish for 4 years when I was in college. But today, and even when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I took Spanish for 4 years. And even when I was taking those classes, I wasn't very confident when I was speaking Spanish. I could read it okay, but I think the reason why I was never very confident is because I never really utilized it in a real world way. Everything that I used Spanish for was just in a classroom setting. So I was able to read books, kind of, but if you put me in a conversation with someone, or talking with someone, even chatting with someone online, I would not be able to handle it because all of my experience was strictly just like practice in a classroom. That's not practical. And I think it's the same thing with game development. If you just spend all your time watching videos or practicing coding or practicing game development, as opposed to just making simple games, like making simple games, that's how you actually learn. That's the best way to do it. In the same way with spoken language, the best way to learn a spoken language is to immerse yourself in that language and like live somewhere where people are actually speaking it. It's a lot harder to learn language when no one around you is speaking it, because then you have to just practice it on your own. And then you actually go out and do it, and it's a lot harder than it is on, like, Duolingo. Sad to beat Silksong in, like, a week when it took 7+ years to make. Maybe, yeah. I'm not quite done with it, but I think I'm gonna play it again. I don't replay games, but I might replay Silksong. It is... I'm blown away. I don't think I've been so impressed by a game ever. I really, really love it. It is so exciting that a 2D game can come out in 2025 and give me new inspirations for my game. Oh, I'm like, why is the rain falling so slow? Because the game speed's down. Duolingo user versus native user in general, but Duolingo is better than nothing. That's the point. Is that using Duolingo to learn a language is a great way to immerse yourself in the fundamentals. In the same way that watching YouTube videos or tutorials about game development is a great way to immerse yourself in the fundamentals. But watching videos about game development or doing practice things about game development will not get you better at game development. Making games will. And it's the same thing with spoken language, is like, you can practice Duolingo all you want, and that'll help with getting the fundamentals in place, but if you really want to be fluent, you have to be speaking it and doing it a lot. I don't think it's possible to... you know, there's people out there that speak multiple languages. I don't think that I'm the right person to be talking about this. Maybe someone out there can speak on this better. Am I wrong? Duolingo is pretty terrible, as it is built like a mobile game, not an actual learning tool. You get on every day to keep up your streak, not actually learn. I kind of get that impression too, where it feels good. Same with like online courses or YouTube videos. It feels good to go through like walkthroughs on how to make a game. But if all you're doing is following instructions, it doesn't really get internalized very well. Also, my hair looks horrible right now. I need to put some product in or something. But I'm about done for the day. I think I'm gonna call it quits. I am ready to go get some lunch and then go play some more Silksong. Duolingo had such good marketing until the AI thingy. I didn't hear about that. So how did you get the weapon to be a separate sprite but be connected to follow the player? I'll talk about that real quick and then I'll be done. So the way the weapon works is the weapon really, truly is its own unique object. And when it's being held by the player, it still is completely 100% separate. But the weapon itself knows that it's being held by the player, which I think that's state 1. So here, in state 1, it actually figures out what state the player is in. So like if the player is attacking, it's going to calculate what rotation and what position the sword needs to move to in order to be precisely where it needs to be for the animation. So in this case, it's saying if the player is attacking and the player is using a stab attack, then the weapon needs to do all this calculation stuff in here, figure out which animation frame the player is on, which frame of the animation it's on, and then change the specific position based on that. So as I play this game, and you see the sword bobbing up and down, it's literally checking every single frame what animation frame is the player on so that it can snap the sword position to be exactly where it needs to be. And when the player attacks, it's doing the same thing. It is frame by frame checking where does this sword need to be and it recalculates its position using math every single frame. It is complex and hard, and it took a while to get this working, but that is how it works, and I'm very happy to have it working. But yep, on that note, I'm gonna call it quits for the day. Wolf, Phoenix Quest, Bellcat, Elijah, Atomic, Adele, Sabanai, Butteriffy, Elijah, Sapphire, Freddie, thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate your support and for chatting with me. It was a really, really good stream. Will we get Moonshire the movie? Oh, that would be amazing. I would love to make a Moonshire movie at some point, but definitely not this decade. I'll be on the lookout for that, though. But I will be back next week. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll see you then. Bye.